Okay, we go straight to it. Rotus, morning.
All right, sorry about that. Hopefully you can hear me clearly. So as I was saying, the Japanese yen falling to a 34-year high to the dollar simply because if interest rates do not come down in the US, that means that the dollar remains attractive. If the dollar remains attractive, there's something called carry trade. The carry trade will be against the yen. Currency speculators have jumped on that. Initially, the Bank of Japan's language was that there would be, and you should see a chart, there should be a chart up there where you see the rapid rise with a blue line tracing a black line. The higher that line goes, the weaker the yen gets, right? And then it did fall to 156. Basically, the fundamentals, if the US dollar remains, if rates remain high, the US dollar remains attractive, the yen remains under pressure. We understood that there was some psychological line of 152 to the yen, but that line has now been breached to 160. We have to see what happens with the yen. Now, on another note, when your currency is weak, what happens? Your exports become cheaper. Japan is an export-oriented nation. And so for vehicles and so on and so forth, it means they get cheaper. Also, it means that tourists, it becomes more affordable to fly to Japan. So there was some data out in March from the Japanese Tourism Board showing that about, and this is, you can see there's two sides to the coin. On the one hand, in March, you had 1.2 million Japanese residents flying out of the country. That's about a 37% drop pre-COVID to 2019. However, on the flip side, you've got about 3.1 million people, 3.1 million tourists flying into Japan. And that, of course, is 70% year-on-year rise. And they were, this is why I really like looking at intra-Asia travel, if you like, because most of those tourists, in about 17 countries, you had a record high, US and other nations, but it was mostly led by Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, and China. So, and by the way, Japan, there's a public holiday this week, the Golden Week, and so they're expecting that there'll be more travel through this week. We stay in Asia to Elon Musk. Ayo kind of teased to it. He took a surprise trip to China. He met with Li Qiang to talk about scaling some hurdles to autonomous driving for Tesla in China. He's trying to get approval for that, which is interesting. While he was there, the Beijing Auto Show is going on. Tesla has skipped that show. You've got competitors like BYD, Toyota, Nissan, all that. They're showing off the new cars. Tesla skipped it. So Elon Musk seems to believe that autonomous driving is somehow going to unlock more value for Tesla. Analysts that have looked at the stock price don't really think so, because as we speak, in America, Tesla is facing a number of lawsuits. The Washington Post just broke a story early this morning. In fact, there are about 8 lawsuits that Tesla is facing through FSD, that is full service driving. Tesla has claimed that the driver is responsible for monitoring the vehicle when it is in full self-driving mode. But the lawsuits are saying that that's not really the case, that they've been hyping up full service driving to make people believe that you can keep your hands off the wheel and the car will keep going. So, I mean, we looked at Tesla's numbers for Q1. They were really bad. Again, they haven't received full approval from the Chinese, but we will see what happens. Again, Tesla has been really, BYD, other competitors have been beating down Tesla in China. Now, by the way, what does full self-driving look like? There's a guy I follow on Twitter called Gurgaveen. He's an influencer. He talks about stocks. He has lots of Twitter, meetups where we talk about, investment and so on. So he was in San Francisco. You can see a tweet from him where he says, it's amazing how far technology has come. And you should see a video of Waymo in San Francisco. Waymo is a subsidiary of Alphabet. Basically, it was Google Auto. I think it was Google Self-Driving is what they used to call it before. What Waymo has been doing in particular cities in San Francisco is to allow that car you are looking at is driving itself through the cities of San Francisco. But it is in a very limited area, very limited testing. Because if accidents happen, somebody has to take full liability for this. And that is one of the issues facing Tesla's push to try to get autonomous driving in China, America. And there have been some crashes, there have been some fatalities. Who takes full responsibility for that? So autonomous driving, I mean, it excites me. It's awesome. It's all about robots and AI and a car being able to drive you itself. But the whole thing around it is going to be centered on regulation and whether or not companies will take full liability if things go wrong. We go to the World Economic Forum that's been taking place, since we're talking about AI, that's been taking place in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. The World Economic Forum released a new report on education and AI's impact. And most of the conversation was on, can education keep up? Because there is a divide that is being created by those who can pay the money to get access to large language models that can do whatever you want, whether you're in media or manufacturing or financial services or whatever, and those that cannot afford it. So there was a panel discussion. Do tune into the Global Business Report later this morning. We'll have excerpts from this, 6-person panel where they were discussing this. I do want you to take a look at, just to understand the divide. Laura Frignet, she's the CEO of the Global Partnership on Education. Here she is talking about the challenges of trying to get AI in places where education is a struggle.
So let me just maybe give you like 3 numbers to kind of set the context of what the situation is in the countries where we work. We work in countries where generally, on average, 10 children share 1 textbook at the moment. We work in countries where often there are 100 children in 1 classroom for 1 teacher. And in countries where at the end of grade 4, 7 children out of 10 do not know how to read or write a very simple sentence. So this is the baseline.
You can imagine that being the baseline. So I really do encourage everybody to watch the segment later. They got very real and very practical about this AI we're all talking about in certain places where people don't even have internet. Schools don't even have internet. How do you want to get this over there? So it was a really great discussion that happened there. Speaking of the World Economic Forum, President Tinubu, you've already touched on it earlier, speaking facts, saying that the reforms that he had to put in place in terms of partially reducing fuel subsidy. I know Ayo was asking I should do a calculation on how much businesses have lost through fuel scarcity. We'll get to that in a moment. But basically, him saying that, yeah, if he hadn't taken these reforms to try to, remove subsidies and also, liberate the exchange rate, the country would have faced bankruptcy if you look at how much was spent maintaining subsidies. Now, he also secured an investment with Maersk while he was there in Riyadh, and that investment to the tune of about $600 million. You know that in his meeting in the Netherlands, they've got the Rotterdam ports, one of the most active ports by volume, and essentially that $600 million is going to go towards trying to improve Nigeria's port management. Zenith Bank shareholders, you'll see it on today's This Day newspaper at the top of the masthead. Shareholders approving the holdco structure. Other banks already have this holdco structure, so about time that Zenith Bank joined the fray. Of course, with the holdco structure, you've got the top line structure that oversees different verticals from fintech, the actual bank, and so on and so forth. So that's a welcome development for Zenith Bank. And then look to the fuel matter. So simple arithmetic is this, right? Somebody in Ojodu, I think the area, told me that they were selling fuel for about 900 naira. I told them to send me a picture to prove it. They haven't sent me that photograph yet. So the issues that you're seeing right now, I know the NNPC said logistics and so on, but it's also a matter of price, right? The higher fuel costs are, the lower the subsidy you pay. It's simplistic math. Basically, if fuel is supposed to be 1,000 naira per liter and you're paying 500, the government is subsidizing 50%. If fuel goes to 800 naira per liter and it's supposed to be 1,000, you're paying 80% of that cost. The government is paying 20%. Again, simple back of the napkin math, right? What is happening now is the price differentials and the adjustment. You saw oil rally to past $90 a barrel when we had the Israel-Iran tit for tat and the Gaza situation. Oil has receded to about 87, 86, but it's still high. So, the marketers who are supposed to be compensated for those differentials, working in your exchange rates, that is what is causing a few issues now. Now, if you completely removed the subsidies, then you wouldn't have to pay anything, right? So, but then there's the issue of I don't know. Ayo, you have to help me explain when you say that government needs to sacrifice. Are you suggesting that government pays a lower amount for fuel or they pay a lower amount for a bag of rice?
Okay.
The price hits everyone. So hopefully these things get worked out.
Okay, Rotu, so my problem with your maths again is parameters. You must have variables. You can only calculate your maths if we know how much government is even paying in subsidies as we speak today. That percentage we do not know. We remove subsidies and all of a sudden the next NNPC say we are still the major importers of crude oil. So predominantly most of the crude oil that comes in, NNPC still brings in. So how much is the pass-on cost? How much in percentage is government paying on subsidy? You see, that's why some proponents of phased-out removal were asking and saying, okay, if we have this percentage, but you are in an economy where NNPC still claims we are not paying subsidies. Mele Kyari keeps defending that to the hilt. And it's mind-boggling in one breath say we're not paying subsidies. And the next thing, we are seeing all of this price variation. NNPC is still the only ones bringing in. We still have encumbrances to the traffic gurus and all the other oil big marketers of this world of over $3 billion that we're scampering to pay. So the only place the match you said will work, Rotus, is if we even know how much in percentage cost NNPC is passing to the people and what they're paying in subsidies. If fuel is going to about $90 per barrel as we speak now, and you want to appropriate it with the cost, okay, $90 per barrel, the cost of a liter is going to over 1,000 or thereabouts. The people are paying different prices. How do we even know the cost, percentage cost? In Sokoto, they are saying black market is over 2,000. In Abuja, they're paying over 750. Lagos, 600 something. Yeah, sometimes in some stations, it's 630. In VI alone, some stations sell at 630. Some sell at 605. So we don't even know what's going on. So I think where we can get the variable right is when we even know how much the government is paying. For Zenith, good on them because it's even long overdue for a holdco structure. Let's not forget that Zenith also has an insurance arm to it and a couple of other arms to it. And they've been able to pitch out their business. And it's a formidable, banking company across the years. And they've been able to do well for themselves. So let's see how it pans out with a holdco structure. But the thing I always say with the holdco structure is, can we also be very innovative? I want more extreme verticals aside from, the fintechs and all of that, the low-hanging fruits, I don't know. Probably they can also look at AI for banking. Also, another thing I'd like to say is about this AI conversation. I'm happy. And this segues back to our conversation where you were talking about AI and robotics, and NEPA took the light in the conference you were in Abuja. So those are the problems, and you can see it for yourself. You see, so when people like us are saying, this AI conversation, let's be careful. AI means investment. The reason why the West can talk about AI is because systematically their governments have made investment. Sometimes people say, oh, Rufai is a complete negative person. He doesn't like the growth and prospect of this country. But the problem about me is that I'm a realist. I look at the reality on ground and I don't delude myself. The greatest thing my father will always tell me as a child is, Rufai, you can do to yourself is to deceive yourself. I don't deceive myself. And you can hear it there at one bank. So the question, Rotus, is how can we now have those investments we need to have so that some people will not be left behind? I think those are the conversations we should have.
All right, Rotus, a few things I would like to just say in terms of...
one sec, sorry, just okay. one quick sec. Just one quick sec. Okay. One quick sec. Just to clear things. You were mentioning the different fuel prices across the country, right? So think of it like this. The ports, think of where the ports are located, where fuel comes in, and the distribution costs to go around the country. You can't have a uniform price. So I think Rufai said something about Sokoto prices. Is there? Yeah, prices are going to be different, around the country because of the margins, and then how much is diesel right now? The trucks that transport fuel to these different parts of the countries, to the fuel stations, they run on diesel. So you got to think about all these things. And then on the AI thing, yes, NEPA took light. But, again, I urge everybody to please watch on the Global Business Report, because a clip I did not play for you was for the CEO of strategy at Accenture. And he said if businesses, whether you're in media, whether you're in manufacturing, if you don't start training your staff on AI now, you will be left behind. So if we keep saying that because of NEPA we shouldn't move forward, the gap is going to grow even wider.
At least fix NEPA.
Yeah, I don't think the conversation is to say that let's not have AI because we don't have power. as you often say, we can chew gum and walk at the same time. So we're saying that if we're going to be looking at, have, these elaborate plans for AI in Nigeria, then we must also have the, will.
The investment
also,
by the government.
And
the
also
government needs to come in.
To fix power. I think it's important to do that. It's just the same thing with the local, the Lagos Calabar Coastal Way, that you want to do something new, but the existing problem. So what's going to happen to the something new? It would fall into the same challenges that the existing problems face. So if we start AI, we don't fix our power problems. One day we're going to come to a point where it's not working properly, and we can use the telecoms and data, telecoms story to talk about that. Yes, we are playing in this market, but we're not playing optimally, because the same challenges that plague us as a nation in terms of culture and being able to sort problems isn't there. So we're still going to have that challenge along the way. But since we talk about AI, let's talk about Tesla and this full self-driving vehicles. To be honest, I was whispering to Rufai when you were speaking that I don't know if we're already in Nigeria. I can't imagine on our roads. And then you spoke about how they've only tested it within inner roads, smaller roads, and we were looking to the future and possibly having these cars in Nigeria, then we might need to even begin to look at our transport system. But it also raises a big question around the jobs that might be phased out. When I saw that car, I thought, what's going to happen to drivers? You said about Accenture saying that companies must begin to train their staff members or even prepare themselves for an AI-driven world. If not, you're going to be left behind. So what people are saying is that, yes, the challenge or the concern is that jobs are going to be replaced by machines, or human beings are going to be replaced by machines for jobs. But you can also find ways to make sure that you get skills to prepare yourself for an AI-led world. So while some jobs might become obsolete, it would also provide an opportunity for new roles, new skills, new jobs to come on board. So that's something because in Nigeria, we have a market for drivers, low income, and it provides job opportunities for them. So that's very important. And finally, congratulations to Zenith Bank in principle, and once that becomes fully on board, they can then venture into other businesses under financial services, insurance, like you mentioned, tech, and other areas that other financial service organizations have been able to leverage in terms of shoring up their revenue. At the moment, Mr. Jim Ovia has been approved to act as chairman of the holdco in the interim until things become substantive. So congratulations to the team, and hopefully that would help shore up revenue. Thank you very much, Rotus. It's always a good time with you here on The Morning Show.